In our reading this morning from the book of Deuteronomy, we have an account of an ancient harvest festival. The ancient people of Israel would, at harvest time, gather up their crops, their fruits, and their vegetables, and they were supposed to bring their first fruits, the first produce that they gathered, and present it as a gift to the Lord. Now, this in itself is hardly unusual. This was a common thing in the ancient world, and many temples of many gods received gifts like this at harvest time. But there is one thing that is kind of unique about this particular harvest festival, and that was a little speech that every Israelite male was to make, we are told, as he presented his gifts at the altar. He was supposed to give a little speech that started out, "A wandering Aramean was my ancestor," and went on there and told the whole story of how the people of Israel went down into Egypt, how they suffered under slavery, how they were led out by Moses, how God led them through the wilderness and ultimately brought them into the promised land, the land that he had promised so many generations before to that wandering Aramean. And I found that kind of odd. Why would every Israelite male be expected to make this identical speech? But I think I understand a little bit of what was going on here. You see, that whole story, the story of the origins of the people of Israel, is a wonderful and beautiful story, but the fact of the matter is, it didn't exactly go down like that, because it never does. The story of a people, the story of how a people in a certain territory become a nation is always complicated, is always muddy. We have different people coming together from different origins and eventually finding that common identity. That's how it's always worked. And that's doubtlessly how it worked in the case of the people of Israel. And the fact of the matter is that this is actually something that the Bible does acknowledge from time to time. I don't know if you heard it, but it was there in our reading this morning from the book of Exodus. It's the story of that very moment when the people of Israel are gathered together and they're ready to leave Egypt and how to head out towards the promised land under the leadership of Moses. And I remember that scene. Do you remember in Cecil B. DeMille's The Ten Commandments? All of the people there, this common tribe, all descended from the same man, all with this common ethnic identity and cultural life. Except Exodus says it wasn't exactly like that. Just a little side comment, but Exodus says a mixed crowd also went with them. A mixed crowd? I don't remember that scene in the Ten Commandments. But you know, when you think about it, it makes good sense. Egypt was at that time the most powerful empire on the face of the earth. And it had a slave economy. And that meant that Egypt was filled with slaves that had come from all the surrounding regions. A huge mix of slaves that did everything for the Egyptians. And all of those slaves, or at least almost all of them, would have chafed under their slavery, would have longed for freedom. And so you would expect that if there was any opening, any possibility of freedom for any slaves in Egypt, that every slave in Egypt would have jumped at the chance to be a part of that Exodus. And the book of Exodus tells us that that's exactly what happened. A mixed group of slaves joined them. So it makes sense historically speaking, but what does that do to our understanding, our idea of that journey of the people of Israel and how they became a people? It means that that group that became the nation of Israel did kind of start out as a bit of a motley group. Yes, there was probably a core of people who could trace their ancestry back to the particular tribe, but throughout its history, other people came along and joined in with them and became the people of Israel. How did they form that national identity? They formed it through common experience, and in particular, their common experience of God. Do you know that there's a word that appears in ancient documents and monuments dating back to this period of time? You'll find this word in the writings of the Egyptians, the Sumerians, the Hittites, and others. They all talk of a people called the Apiru. And if you read what they say about the Apiru, they are not very fond of them at all. The word seems to mean, kind of indiscriminately, it means slave, nomad, bandit. These were not good people as far as the Egyptians and the Hittites and the Sumerians were concerned. So this word, Apiru, doesn't seem to designate a particular ethnic group so much as a social subgroup, a group of outsiders, a group of rejects, and generally undesirables. Well, the theory is that this word, Apiru, which meant slave or nomad or bandit, is actually the root behind the word Hebrew. That over time, that word Apiru became Hebrew. And again, that kind of makes sense historically. For when the group of people called the Hebrews, the Israelites, first appeared on the historical stage, that's how people would have seen them. As a bunch of rejects, a bunch of slaves, nomads, bandits, troublemakers. That's what they called them. But eventually, these Apiru took that name as a badge of honor and began calling themselves Hebrews. And out of that, they began to form a common identity. An identity that they came through their shared experience, which was experience of God. For they did experience God and God's powerful in some very important ways. But in particular, that common national identity was also formed through the stories they told of their experiences of God. So these stories were extremely important to them, helped them to create their national identity, helped to tell them who they were. So that's why in our reading this morning from Deuteronomy, it was considered so important that once a year, every single Israelite male had to tell that story. A wandering Aramean was my ancestor. And he had to tell it whether or not he was literally descended himself from Abraham. Because the story was important. And every Israelite needed to identify with that story. It's not that the story wasn't true, it's that the story was more than just true. It was a story that contained for them an enormous amount of meaning. I've been thinking a lot about national identity lately, especially as Canada celebrates its 150th anniversary. We talk about our national identity as Canadians, and you know what? Often, I think as Canadians, we feel a little bit self-conscious about that national identity, and we wonder, do we really have a strong sense of national identity? You talk to Canadians, sometimes we struggle to put a finger on what our national identity is. We identify ourselves by what we are not. Well, we're not Americans, we know that much. Or sometimes we identify ourselves by our little quirks that we have, like how we pronounce the last letter of the alphabet. And of course it's Z. Everyone knows it's Z. Z is an abomination. We identify ourselves with, our little quirky pronunciation of out and about, which apparently everybody but us can hear is kind of strange. We point to national passions, like, a certain brand of coffee and a game called hockey and beer that actually tastes like something. And we talk about these kinds of things, but I think we feel self-conscious about it. It doesn't really seem to quite amount to a great, robust national identity. What are we missing? Well, I think this story in Deuteronomy would lead us to understand that one of the key components in developing a national identity is that sense of shared story. We need a story. We need a narrative in which all of us can find ourselves. We need to share a story. And in some ways, maybe that's a little hard for Canada. Here we are, we've come from all over the place. We have the First Nations who've been here like forever, and all of the rest of us have come in as immigrants, as refugees, as migrants, whatever. We talk about this great cultural mosaic, and yes, there's a wonderful richness in that diversity in our society. Where is that shared story that everyone feels they can belong to, that they can have a part in? Now, if we lack that strong sense of national identity, is it because we lack things to be proud of? Of course not. We have so much to be proud of as Canadians. Wonderful achievements in the areas of science and the arts and technology and policy and all kinds of things. But what I think we might sometimes be lacking is that strong national shared story in which we can all find ourselves. I think the genius of the story, the actual story that we read in Deuteronomy this morning, the story that every Israelite male was to tell once a year, is that it really is a story in which people can find themselves. I mean, yes, as you tell the story, maybe you don't have an actual Aramean wanderer as an ancestor, but we all have someone in our background, don't we? Maybe it's a wandering Scot in your background who got kicked out of his lands to make way for sheep. Maybe it's a wandering Irishman who had no way to feed his family after the potato harvest failed. Yeah, I know not all of us were slaves underneath the Egyptians and struggled as we gave hard labor to them. But so many people in their backgrounds have experiences that border on slavery. So many people came to Canada to escape brutal regimes, unlivable ways of life, to find hope and freedom in Canada. Yeah, not everybody came to an experience where they saw God work in signs of wonder and of power, though I know some who have. Every single one of us can identify with the idea of finding ourselves in this country. A country, a land flowing with milk and honey, a land overflowing with beauty and bounty, where God has placed us to make wise use of it all. We can find our place in a story like that. I think anybody can. So I guess what I'm saying is that there is a story of Canada in which all of us, anyone can find a place. But it may not be the story that they've been telling us. Probably heard the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC, this year marking Canada's 150th anniversary, put out a documentary, The Story of Us, they call it. And it was, in a way, it was an attempt to do what I've been talking about, create a national narrative, a national story in which everyone could find themselves. But you probably also heard that they kind of failed at that. This whole thing was sharply criticized so badly that in the end, CBC had to apologize for what they had done. The criticisms of the program were many. It was full of historical inaccuracies. People were presented according to stereotypes. Entire communities were just written out of the story. So there were lots of complaints. Some of those things I think were unavoidable. I don't think you can tell a national story without being inaccurate sometimes. You can't include every group, obviously. I don't think those things alone should have scuppered the project. What doomed it, I think, was the attitude they went in with. I think they had an idea of what a national story is, maybe that they borrowed from our neighbors to the south. But they were wrong. I think maybe they were assuming that a national story is supposed to be a story about victory, about triumph. It's part of our story. And it is an important part of our story, of course. But I don't think it's the heart of the story. The heart of the story often comes through struggle, as people find their way and continue to struggle towards the country they need to be. There's a real story in that. I don't know about you, but when I think of Canada, there are many wonderful stories, but it's not necessarily the stories that I've always been told. When I think, for example, just to give one example of the First Nations people of Canada that I have known, wonderful people who haven't necessarily had the best of experience and history in their relationship with the country of Canada and its government. And yet they are people who love this country, who are dedicated to this country, who work hard at calling this country to be the best it can be. I look at them and their story and their saga, and that stirs my heart. So much more than any story of a victory on the battlefield of the Plains of Abraham or on the banks of the Red River. As I wrote this sermon last week, I was struggling with all of this. I was thinking about this whole story in the book of Deuteronomy, and I was thinking about this really big and sometimes difficult question of Canadian identity. Trying to find a way to pull it all together, and in the midst of that, I came across something that kind of blew me away. It was a text written by a colleague of mine, Reverend Tony Boonstra. I've never met the man. He's retired. But over a decade ago, he wrote his own version of that story. The Wandering Aramean was my ancestor's story, from his own point of view, from the point of view of his ethnic group and his Christian faith. And when I saw what he wrote a decade ago, I was kind of blown away that somebody else was thinking along the same track as I was. So the best way I can think to close off all of these meditations today is by sharing with you the very words of my colleague, Tony Boonstra. So I have made them into a little video that I'm going to share with you now.
My great-great-great-grandfather was a feudal serf, eking out a living for his family, literally by the sweat of his brow. There were numerous children, and the family clan grew in number. We suffered severe deprivation under the feudal system and were grievously persecuted during the time of the Reformation. Our family was torn apart. Some who remained true to the Roman Catholic faith, some who joined the Protestants under the leadership of Prince William of Orange. During the Industrial Revolution, we experienced the bitter pain caused by the tremendous social upheaval. Then, in the beginning part of the 20th century, we suffered scarcity of basic essentials during the Great Depression of the 1930s. This was hardly past when we suffered humiliation and the loss of freedom under the German occupation of World War II. Many times in desperation we cried out to God. In time He chose to lead a few of us in number to a land flowing with milk and honey, a country we affectionately call Canada. For a generation, we remained quiet and to ourselves, getting used to what, for us, were foreign traditions and uncommon values. But now we have come to bring our first fruits. We have chosen to share in the responsibility of making this country a welcome haven and home for all its citizens. So today we bring our gifts, our ideas, our values, our dreams, our story, and we offer them freely in gratitude to Creator God, who so lavishly has entrusted to our care the whole world. We covenant with you to make Canada a country where all people are given the respect they deserve, where people are given the freedom to embrace the values and traditions that are dear to them. We want Canada to be a country where the beauty of all God created is appreciated and where all people are valued for the unique beings they are.